and welcome to the Author Roundup, a special segment of the Book Connection Show where we meet up and coming indie authors and talk to them about their recently released books.
Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Jenny, and this is the Author Roundup. Have you ever faced a loss so deep that it felt as if time had stopped? What does it really take to heal after unimaginable grief? Is time enough, or does it demand something more? Our guest today knows the answers firsthand. When her husband of 20 years passed away from glioblastoma, she found herself lost, broken, and searching for a reason to keep going. She embarked on a solo trip to Africa, a lifelong dream and the place where she began to piece her life back together. Today, she's here to share the story behind her stunning book, Africa Table for One, a coffee table book filled with breathtaking wildlife photography and a powerful story of healing and finding new purpose. Please welcome the author of Africa Table for One, Tami Loehrs. Hi, Tammy. I'm so glad you can join us.
Hi, Jenny. Great to be here. Thank you so much.
Mhm. So tell us about your book, Tammy. What inspired you to write Africa Table for One?
Well, in November of 2018, as you said, my husband of 20 years, we were actually going to live in Costa Rica
Mm.
to live a more simple life. So we decided to take a practice trip there. And while we were there, he got very sick. And when we came home, we found out he had a glioblastoma. So for the next 2.5 years, I cared for him. I gave up everything to care for him during his cancer. And he eventually lost his fight. As you said, I didn't want to go on. I was absolutely devastated and destroyed. And my husband and I had traveled all over the world together, but we had never gone to Africa, a place I had dreamed about since I was little. And one morning, I swear my husband pulled me out of bed. I woke up like, and he said, honey, go to Africa. And I immediately got on the computer and planned a 30-day trip to travel through Africa alone and just be with animals. I just wanted to have different animal encounters through Africa. While I was there during my entire trip, I wrote my entire book on my phone. I was writing everything I saw, everything I felt, I was just documenting everything on my phone through my entire trip. And then, of course, I picked up my camera, and I wasn't the photographer, my husband was. So I had bought a new camera and I put it on sport mode and I took pictures of everything I encountered. And that turned into my book. So when I got home, I downloaded all of the notes from my phone and all the pictures that I had taken and started putting that into a book, which at the time I did not know it was going to be a book. My children actually inspired me to make this a book and get it published. So that's why I wrote that.
And the rest is history, as they say.
And the rest is history, yes.
Okay, so you had a very sad experience, and your answer or your way to cope with that was to travel to Africa. So, did writing this book help you find new meaning in your husband's legacy and your shared love of adventure?
Well, my husband's legacy doesn't need any new meaning. His legacy is like amazing and untouched. What it did do was it gave me new meaning in moving on without him. This is where I'm going to get really emotional. I didn't want to live without him. He was part of my life for 20 years. I mean, I didn't leave the house without a text message in 5 minutes. We were that close. So really going through Africa alone and experiencing everything, the animals and the people, helped me learn that I could move on without him. I know I still have him, but without him physically present. So it very much helped me move on alone.
Mhm. That's great. So, it was very helpful in the way that, it probably made the moving on easier because of the new experience.
Yes, actually for the first time, I felt a peace
Mhm.
and a calm. I didn't feel so alone. I felt like there's more out there. I know he's always with me. I can feel him. I felt him on my trip. He sends me signs.
Mm.
But I felt a very calm and a peace being by myself and experience. I got to experience everything with just me. No, there was nothing there to disturb my connection with the animals, my connection with nature, my connection with other people.
So your book weaves together grief, healing, and wildlife conservation. How did you
Yeah.
strike that balance between the book being a personal memoir and, including environmental storytelling?
To be honest, I have no idea how I weaved it all together. Honestly, I think that I had this uncanny connection with the animals. It was something I did not expect. I've always loved animals, but I had no idea the kind of connection that I would have. And I think as I continued my journey and the gorillas came to me, the lions came to me, the elephants came to me, the meerkats crawled all over me, it started it started opening my eyes as to how important these animals are and how much they give our planet and how much they gave to me during, my healing. And it just kind of went into I want to spend the rest of my life helping to protect and preserve them.
What role do you think Africa itself played as a character in your healing process?
Well, not only has it been something I've thought of since I was a little girl, for no reason whatsoever. My parents didn't travel, they weren't cultured. I had no reason to dream of Africa when I was a 5-year-old, but I've thought about it my whole life. When I finally got here, I realized it's still so pure. There's so much kindness here. They live in communities and villages. They care about each other. They take care of each other. The air is crisp and clean. Like you land and you go, oh my God, like what is this? The animals live with the communities. There's wild animals living in their environment with people who also live in that environment. And it just kind of it felt like it brought me back to my roots, like to something more pure, more perfect, more like without all of the noise that's around us, all of the commercialism and everything that we're stuck in every day. It really, and I don't think there's another place like this. I've traveled to over 80 countries and nothing has hit me like Africa.
Mhm. Africa is really special to you. So, which moment in your African journey felt the most transformative? I know the whole thing, is very special, but if you can just choose one moment or a particular moment in your African journey that felt the most transformative and impactful to you, which one will it be?
Oh, absolutely. That's without a question. It was my time in Uganda. I went on a habituation track for gorillas. So it's not, they don't call ahead with guides first. I go out and track the gorillas with the guides and the trackers. So we spent 8 hours up and down the volcanoes, and we came across a family, and a huge silverback was within 20 feet of me.
Mhm.
And we all stopped, and I was the only guest. There was no other guests, and we all stopped, and they said, "Put your camera down." And he came at me with everything he had, beating his chest. He was massive. I could feel his power. And I stood there and I kept my eyes down and I made the noise, like, please don't kill me. And he stopped feet in front of me and sat back and let out a and I looked into his eyes and I could see he knew I was not a harm. I was not a threat. I think he felt my grief and he felt my purity. And he invited me into his family. And then he went and hid in the bushes and he looked through the bushes at me like, I'm watching you. And I went into the little clearing, and two mama gorillas came out of the trees, one on either side of me, and nursed and grooved their babies next to me. And even all the guides were absolutely, their mouths were open. They said they've never seen anything like it. And then after Mama Gorilla next to me finished nursing her baby, she laid back and put her arm up and let her baby just go, like right next to me, which is complete and total trust in me being there as a visitor. So that changed my life, fell in love with the gorillas.
Right.
And and now I didn't move to Uganda. I moved to Rwanda, but the gorillas are in Rwanda as well. So I moved here.
What an incredible experience. And
Oh,
you can
w-
say that it's a make or break experience. It's either you want to stay or that's going to scare you and just want to, end the trip, right? And
yeah, no, it made me want to go. I've been on 13 gorilla treks since, so
okay. So how did your wildlife encounters, so the other encounters, including the one that you just mentioned, how did these wildlife encounters mirror your own process of healing and survival?
Well, I saw nature firsthand and it's incredibly brutal, but it's also beautiful. And I went through a very, very brutal time after my husband's death. I lost a lot. And it just reminded me of everything. And the best example is the mama cheetah. On my first 30 minutes in the Masai Mara, we came across this mama cheetah. She was very thin and very hungry, and she had just made a kill. And we caught her while she was still breathing. She hadn't even called her cubs yet, and a hyena came and stole the food. And it was heartbreaking to all of us. It was devastating. You could tell she was starving. She was very skinny, and she had no dinner for her cubs. And the next morning, we found that same cheetah, and that's the cheetah hunt in my book. We followed her for 3 hours, and she killed a gazelle, and we watched the entire thing. And she called her little cubs over, and they ate, and their little tummies were full, and she was happy. It was like from this brutal, like you just want to give up and you can't go on. You get up the next day and victory. So that's it kind of reminded me of everything I've
Mm.
been through, and yeah, so Mama Cheeto is kind of my life.
How important was it for you to highlight community-based conservation programs? Because you also talked about those in your book, right? And why was it important for you to do so?
I think because I went to Sheldrick's Wildlife Trust, I went to Ratiti Elephant Sanctuary, and I spent a day with the anti-poachers. And I was absolutely blown away at the sacrifice these people make, and how they're caring for these animals, how they're saving these animals, how it involves an entire community. They're teaching, through education, if you go out and poach an animal so that you can sell it for you, to give you money, that's going to take away the animals for everybody else. And if we don't have animals, we don't have tourism. That's what they come here for. If we don't have tourism, you're sacrificing income for the whole community. So they're trying to educate these people. And I mean, it takes everybody to do that. So I was very impressed with the organizations that I met with. That's why I included them in my book. Also, that's where the baby elephant fell in love with me, that I adopted and named my dog after. So I was very impressed by those organizations.
Mhm. So, aside from your encounters with wildlife and you talking about the conservation programs, you were also able to immerse with the local communities, right? So, what did you learn about the connection between the local communities and also the survival of Africa's wildlife?
Well, again, even going back to those organizations, these men and women dedicate their lives to these animals. The keepers at Sheldrick's Wildlife Trust, they spend their life with an elephant. They're sacrificing time with their families, their wives, their children, their homes, to be there 24/7 for these animals. The anti-poachers are out again 24/7, trying to protect these animals in dangerous situations. I saw the towers they sit in, like a tiny concrete block that looks over the entire Serengeti. They sit up there for hours and watch. Their sacrifice is incredible, and it's all for these animals. So that had a huge impact on me, seeing what they did. And they love them. Like, you can see these elephants love these keepers, and vice versa. The keepers love the elephants and the other animals that they rescue. So it had a huge impact on me.
That's beautiful. How did seeing animals in their natural habitat shift your perspective on humanity's role in protecting them? Because earlier you said that you experienced, a very close encounter with the gorilla and also the cheetah. So, how has it, what perspective has it shown you?
Well, I actually had a very unique experience because my trip to Africa was right after COVID. So I mean, I was like one of the first into Africa after they opened it up. And so these animals had been left alone by us for almost 2 years. And seeing I saw things like lions mating under a tree. You know, they weren't hiding. They didn't have to go anywhere. Mama cheetah could call her cubs delicately and have them come over without all the safari vehicles around. I saw baby lions that were not even 10 days old. You never see lions that young. So I got to experience what nature looks like when we leave it alone. And and I know what it looks like. I haven't been in Africa before, but I know there's a lot of safari vehicles and there's a lot of congestion that pushes them all back into their places where they had all come out when I was there. And I think there has to be a balance. I think we should still go see them. I think there's a lot of, it helps everyone, but I think that we should give them their space. And I think that we should take care of them and protect them because they're very important for so many reasons. And the gorillas, particularly, those volcanoes are the lungs of our planet. If those gorillas die, they don't take care of those volcanoes die. We don't have lungs for our planet. So the animals are very important in a lot of different respects. And I really saw that on this trip.
How did your journey change how you personally contribute to conservation causes?
Well, I picked up everything I had in the United States. I moved to Rwanda and I created Silverbacks Coffee, Silverbacks Cafe, and Silverbacks Villas are being built now. So I started with a coffee company and it's named Silverbacks for the gorillas. And the coffee comes directly from farmers that I don't go through a middleman. I buy the beans directly from the farmers and I don't cut them. I don't do anything with them because coffee beans get cut just like other things do. So you get pure Rwandan coffee beans that we roast at our cafe. Um, all of our different blends are named after a gorilla family. I'm hoping as the business takes off that coffee will be sold at Volcanoes National Park so people can actually bring home coffee named after gorillas that they've actually seen. The gorillas on the labels were photographs I took and then drawn by an artist friend of mine from the US. And then I built Silverbacks Cafe, which is it was supposed to be a small coffee shop, but it looks like a convention center. It's a huge 2-story cafe. We have coffee, we have food, we have a bar upstairs. Everything in the cafe is local. All the furniture is made locally. The dishes are made local. All the employees are local. Nothing is shipped in from South Africa or shipped in from the US. I've hired artists to decorate and show off their artwork at the cafe. So everything I'm doing is promoting local culture, local people, and all the money, after expenses, because I don't want the money. The money is going out to communities and to help protect the animals. And I hoping I continue the franchise. I'm building Silverbacks Villas right now in Kinigi, which is right by the Volcanoes National Park, which is where the gorillas are at. And those I'm hoping to start building by the end of the year, and those should be ready by spring or summer next year.
Mhm. Okay, so you said that after your journey, you decided to, just pack up everything that you had in the US and just move there. Tell us about the decision that you had to go through and give us a picture of, was it like a difficult decision or what were the things that you had to consider before you finally decided that you're really going through this?
Well, when I got back from my first 30 days in Africa, I mean, I was happier than I had been since my husband got sick and my children saw it. And then I fell into a deep depression again when I got back from Africa. So I went back to Africa a second time. And during both of these trips, I talked about starting a business here. I talked about the coffee company. I was putting it out to everybody. So when I went back from Africa the second time, I sat my kids down, and they're adults. I sat my kids down and I said, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I think I need to move to Africa. And I was expecting a lot of pushback and a lot of, Mom, you're crazy. And they said without hesitation, we think that's a great idea. We've never seen you happier. You've talked about Africa your whole life. We've seen that because they read a lot of my story before it turned into a book, seen my pictures, and they just said, I think you should go do what you want to do. And I told them about the coffee company and about the cafe. And then my daughter shared something with me and she said, Mom, this isn't about coffee. This is way, way bigger than coffee. And so I said, well, then I'm going to go. And that was it. I had my children's blessing. And I will tell you, after my husband died, a lot of the people that were very close in my life, people that I loved and did a lot for, were horrible to me, left me, abandoned me. And I became very disenchanted with people. And so I found the kindness I needed in Africa. I found the connection with the animals. And it was my two children. That's all I cared about, was what my two children thought. And to be quite honest, it's probably like, ooh, Mom can't come visit every weekend. Yeah, go to Africa.
Mhm. So they saw how Africa has been very good to you, and how your life has really turned after the experience with your husband, losing your husband and all that. Tell us also about your experience while you were writing the book. What was the most challenging part of turning raw personal experience into a narrative that others could connect with? And if you can tell us how long the whole process took, like from your journey until, writing the book, publishing it, how long did it take?
Yeah. As I mentioned earlier, I wrote the whole thing on my phone, on my notes app. I felt kind of guilty in a lot of places because I'd be on a safari vehicle on my phone and I would actually tell them, like, I'm not on my phone, I'm writing. I'm writing a book. So I was writing all of my emotions and my feelings, and I wasn't holding back, and I wasn't thinking about grammar, putting together a sentence. That part was easy. Picking up my camera and taking the pictures, that part was easy. When I got home and put it into the computer, I was still very much grieving my husband and still in a very difficult place. And it was very hard to go back to that and edit it. Because when I decided it to be a book, now it needed to be written correctly. And so I would spend chunks of time editing, and then I would get very sad and I wouldn't be able to look at it. And then, of course, I picked up my life and moved to Africa. So I wasn't working on the book during that. And I got here, and of course, living in a new culture, starting businesses here came with its own challenges. So I wasn't looking at my book. And then literally like about 6 months ago, I had some issues here. I shut down my cafe temporarily. And I sat in front of my computer and finished my book. So all in all, it took me 4 years. 4 years from the trip, to downloading, to editing here and there, and then to finally saying, I'm going to get this done.
What an
And then I
experience.
it was incredible. And then as soon as my book was finished, all the issues that I had here cleared up, my cafe opened, things are going great. I got my book published. It was like, it was just meant to be.
That's great. And also, a very big part of your book would be the photography in it, right? What role did photography play in shaping both the journey and also the final book?
Well, the photography is a funny thing because my husband was the photographer and he knew all the settings on the camera. And when I went to Africa, I decided to buy a brand new camera that's the same as the camera he always used. I knew nothing about it. I put it on sport mode the entire time and just took pictures. As I was traveling and I would be in a safari vehicle with other people and we would all take the same picture and everyone would look at my picture and go, how did you get that picture? I'm like, I don't know. We took pictures of the same thing. They literally stopped taking pictures and they would take my pictures at the end of the day because we all had the same experience. So I realized it's not me. It's not me as a photographer. It was my connection with nature. It was like they were coming to me. They were making those pictures happen. And then in the book, when I talk about the cheetah hunt, it's so much better when after you've read it, you see the cheetah hunt. You can see the actual pictures of what I'm talking about. And so that's how I kind of put it together. So the photography was very much my husband working through me. So I'm not a photographer, and the animals coming to me. And in fact, one of my favorite pictures, if I could show you, that was my cheetah hunt.
Mm.
I don't even know how I got that picture. We followed her for 3 hours, and my guides were helping me. They were as excited as I was that she was about to hunt. And I had my camera in sport mode, just pointing it in the direction where I knew she was at. And I was like, tell me when she runs. And they go, now. And I just started clicking.
Mm.
And so I got some fantastic stuff that I have no business having because I'm not a good photographer. It was just my experiences.
It's surprising to note that all along I thought, with the pictures in your book and all that, all along I thought you have had, a career in photography and all that, because you took very great pictures. And so it must really be a gift. And this journey actually made you aware of that, right? Like,
Yeah, I 100%. Again, I have no history in photography. I was a digital forensics expert for 25 years. But my husband was very much a photographer. And again, when I say I know he's always with me, you know, something there made me take those pictures.
mhm. Yeah. So, what advice would you give to first-time authors who are turning personal journeys into published books?
Ugh, it's like that mama cheetah. It's gonna be brutal, but there can be victory. Be patient, be super diligent. Nobody's gonna treat your baby like you. And this book to me was my baby. Um, I wanted it to be in a bigger format. I wanted the pictures to look like photographs. There was a lot I wanted to do. You just have to get it out there. Do whatever you can to get it out there, and then you can go from there.
Mhm. So, Tammy, in your trips, you also mentioned it in the book that you carried both a lavender scented stuffed sloth and also your husband's ashes with you everywhere you went in Africa. How did those symbols anchor you throughout the trip?
Well, I bought sloth for my husband when he was in the hospital during his first brain surgery, and it didn't leave his arms for 2.5 years until he died. He had that sloth with him everywhere. So carrying him with me felt like I was carrying my husband. I talked to it. I snuggled with it. I took it on adventures with me. I took pictures of it, in trees and wherever on vehicles. It also was a huge conversation piece for people because people asked about it everywhere. They were like, are you an actual child with a stuffed toy, or does that have a story? And so I would, give him the summary of the story, and then it would connect me to people. And it really, it brought a lot of people to me. As far as his ashes go, he was an adventurer. He loved nature. He didn't like anything that was traditional. There was no way he was going to be buried or put somewhere. So I decided to take him all over the world with me. And so I have spread him in Africa, New Zealand, Australia, Costa Rica, places that have wonderful memories for us, places that we talked about going that I brought him to and had him spread, and I had incredible experiences there. He usually sends me a rainbow, so I know where to spread him. And so it was almost like I was carrying him on his adventure and then leaving him in certain places. And oddly enough, I never felt like I should spread him in Rwanda. He's been spread all over Africa, but never here.
Why?
And this is because this is where I ended up.
Oh.
Because this was supposed to be my home. This wasn't somewhere he just wanted me to leave him. This was my home.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's a very fitting tribute to your husband, who's an adventurer, like the way you've described him. So, Tammy, you also use the phrase "table for one" throughout the book. How has your understanding of solitude shifted since this journey?
Um, oh wow. I don't like the word solitude. I guess that's not a bad word. In movies, whenever there's a widow, the happy ending is always when that widow finds a new partner. And it makes me so angry because I have really enjoyed being a table for one. Everywhere I went in Africa, it was anniversary, honeymoon, family, group trip. I was always the only individual traveler. And so I always had this table set for me outside of everybody else. That's in that picture, that was in Kenya, where a friend of mine pulled me over to her group. Um, so I started understanding what it meant to be the table for one, like always sitting outside of these groups. But I started to enjoy it because I started connecting with people. And I started finding things that were more important than just having a person in your life. I will never love somebody the way I loved my husband. We had a relationship, we had a marriage, we were soulmates. Like if you ask anybody who knew us, we had something very, very special. That only comes around once in a lifetime, if that comes around at all. I'm not going to have that again. So if I sit here and wait to have that again, I will always be lonely. I am now surrounded by people, kind people who help me here. You know, they walk my dogs, they work at my cafe. I have a driver, I have somebody who works at my house. They're kind, wonderful, pure, natural people who I have a connection with. So being alone doesn't mean lonely. I'm surrounded by people. And in fact, I enjoy my alone time because I make them all leave me. I have to get them out and tell them I need a day just to be by myself. Um, so you can be alone without a significant other and still be very fulfilled and very happy. I was immersed in toxic people back when my husband and I were together. And after he died, that toxicity almost killed me. And so it's better to have like none of those people and be connected to better things. I'm connected to nature. I'm connected to the animals. I have a garden where I pick fresh food. I have safari now, 4 or 5 hours away, so I can go see my animals. It's very enjoyable. I'm actually very happy. I'm happier than I've ever been.
Mhm.
And it's way easier to go anywhere as a table for one because it's cheaper. And anyone will get you in as a table for one. So I have learned that as well.
Mhm. So, what's next for you, Tammy? Are there future books, projects like your coffee shop and all that, or journeys that you feel called to pursue after this one?
Well, funny you should ask. My son just had his first baby. So this is my first grandchild, who
Mhm.
I'm actually going in a couple of weeks. I'm going back to the US to visit him.
Mhm.
And I wanted to teach him how important travel is because I think travel and, just it makes you just a better person. It just gives you a better perspective. So I've started a series of books. His name is Dylan. And the first book I wrote is called Dylan Goes to Rwanda. And I've already published it and sent it to him. And I got his baby picture and I had AI make a 7-year-old version of his baby picture.
Oh.
And so it's him traveling through Rwanda, learning the language, the land, the culture, how much we're the same, even though we're very different. And I want to do that for all the places I've been, and I've been to 80 countries. So I plan on doing a lot of books for my grandson.
Mm. Okay. And how about your business there?
Oh, yeah. The coffee business is temporarily on hold because they stole all my coffee beans. That was that was the issue that I had at my coffee roaster. But I'm working on that. So the coffee business will be coming along and hopefully be for sale in the US soon. My cafe is doing fantastic. I want it to be a worldwide destination. It's for everybody. My villas are being built here soon, and that's going to be a private resort, which is not offered here yet. So people can come. It's half agriculture and half villas, so you can farm to table, go around and see all the local stuff. It's going to be amazing. I already have silverbacks racing, where in 2023 I brought 3 US athletes to Rhonda to match up with 3 Rhondan athletes, and we created a silverbacks coffee team that raced in Ironman Rhonda. So I intend to do more with that. We just gave soccer balls away to a bunch of the schools here, and I want to do more with kids and sports. So I continue to find different ways for silverbacks to create silverbacks racing, silverbacks travel. And all of those businesses are geared towards helping the community, giving back and preserving all the gorillas and other animals.
A lot to look forward to for you. So the book, the series of
Yeah.
books, like you've said, like children's books and all that, and also um, the activities that you're doing there and the impact that you're making in the local community in Rwanda. That's just amazing, Tammy. As we close, we'd love for you to personally invite our viewers and listeners to connect with you through your website and social media, and of course, to pick up a copy of your book.
Absolutely. So my author website is my name. So it's Tami Loehrs. It's TamiLoehrs.com. And from my author website, you can purchase my book. You can go to all my projects, which is Silverbacks Cafe, Silverbacks Coffee, and Silverbacks Villas. And you can also get to my Instagram, which is at TLEERZ, T Lears. And then our business Instagram is silverbacks_Rwanda.
Okay, thank you so much, Tammy, for sharing your moving story and, of course, the heart behind Africa Table for One. Your courage to face grief head on reminds us that while grief never truly ends, it can transform us, and healing is possible even if the pieces would never look the same again. So, if you're ready to be inspired and see some of the most incredible wildlife photography, be sure to check out Tammy's book. It's available in hardcover and softcover on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, Author House's online bookstore, and other resellers. Africa Table for One by Tami Loehrs it's much of a feast for the eyes as it is for the soul. So thanks again, Tammy, and thank you to all our viewers and listeners. Join us next time for another episode of the Author Roundup.